We don't have many of these game days left in Major League Baseball. Following game one of the World Series, the Toronto Blue Jays lead the Fall Classic 1-0. Jason Bristol, Jeremy Booth. Jeremy had a few things he wanted to get off his chest after watching game one. So, what is the number one thing you want to get off your chest, Jeremy?
Number one thing I want to get off my chest is that I was watching, as I was taking in how both teams were playing last night. Um, there were some marked differences to the teams in the World Series this year than the Astros club we've watched the last two. And I say that because part of that's lineup construction and part of that's overall execution. But in the tail of these two clubs, the Dodgers are, I think we can safely say, star packed. They're just completely loaded at every spot of stars. The Blue Jays aren't. They're good. They got players and they know how to play the game, but that's the calling card. They have a lot of baseball players. They have a lot of good players. They have stars, a lot of good players. What you found in the win last night of the team with the good baseball players, man, these guys go out and get it done, versus the stars, is a club that allowed their players to do all of it. You had your guys come through in big moments, able to be stars. You had the lineup and the flow of these baseball players put together in a way, whereas Toronto hit a guy named Davis Schneider in the two spot around Springer, who led off, and Guerrero and Bichette and the rest of their bangers. And the guy that came off the bench to win the game, really put it away, was Addison Barger. You don't have that type of depth with the Astros if you paralyze the rest of your club. And so for me, the differences in how the execution went down and how these clubs are put together, or how these pieces are used with the club put together was glaring.
But Jeremy, didn't the Blue Jays, their whole game plan is to get Davis Schneider three extra at bats per week? Isn't that what the game plan is? Isn't that why he bats second? I mean,
You
he's
know,
your best hitter, right?
I mean, I guess if you're in New York, who's not in the World Series, or in Houston, who's not in the World Series, or in a number of places that aren't in the World Series, that go ahead and hit that guy second. Anaheim, they've been in the World Series a lot, hitting Trout second. So I mean, you go down the list of this, and the point that we've made all season, which actually are two seasons, which has led to now the firing of Alex Cintron, Brian Snitker, Andrew Ball, and anybody else associated with this approach, is not everything fits everybody. It's not one size fits all. And the Astros, if they use their personnel in a way that's appropriate, are likely playing right now, or at least have fought to play right now, as opposed to not. They can play with the Blue Jays any day of the week. They can play with the Dodgers any day of the week on personnel. They can't do it going about it the way they have gone. And the clubs that use their personnel correctly are in the World Series right now.
Wouldn't you say or argue that Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is a a player on the same level as Yordan Alvarez? I think I would.
Yeah. I don't think there's any question. I think he's as good a hitter and good a player. He's a better defender as far as what he does. And while Jordan is electric and looser and longer levered and all kinds of things that come with what he is physically, the production of Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is unquestioned, and it stays on the field and it's consistent. And when it comes to how they're going about it, you don't see Vladdy Jr. hitting second. You
Well, I
don't see,
just pulled up his splits for this season,
yeah,
and he has hit second.
okay.
In 68 games, he batted second. He had an OPS of 788 with 8 homers, 30 runs driven in, and a batting average of 211. Batting third, 86 games, 15 homers, 53 runs driven in, almost double each category. 311 batting average and an OPS of 903.
So what I'm hearing you say is that the Toronto Blue Jays, the Blue Jays of Toronto, as it were, decided
The
the
Canadian Blue
Canadian
Jays.
team went ahead and experimented with something analytically. Now, this is Mark Shapiro. This is Ross Atkins. This is an analytically driven club in many ways. Decided it didn't work and went back to something that did to, wait a minute, how's that go? Win games, right? Is that right? Win games? Okay, I say this in all seriousness. If the Houston Astros want to maximize and be competitive and everything they can with their personnel while they have it, as they try to find ways to rebuild an abysmal, and I mean abysmal, all the better, abysmal farm system to contribute to big league level and win again, then you have to use your personnel in whatever way you can, especially if you're not going to go out it's a little bit of an oxymoron with Jim Crane because he's got up to the tax threshold, right? He's up there, and not spend above and beyond what everybody else is doing to go ahead and buy talent. You can't do that, of course, and keep your draft picks. They're trying to rebuild through the draft, but you still have to maximize what you got. Bottom line, the Blue Jays and the Dodgers have done that. They found different ways to get there, and that's why they're playing for a World Series, being led by stars and having the supplemental pieces win games by being in positions to succeed.
So I just checked the batting log for the game log for Vladimir Guerrero Jr. He was batting second for most of the first portion of the season. It appears, if I am looking at this correctly, he stopped batting second on June 17th.
Hmm.
And at that time, the Blue Jays were 6 games over 500. So they were 39 and 33. They finished 89 and 67.
So what I'm
So they
hearing
were
you say,
50,
that's, that's
50 and
yeah,
34. So if I'm my math is correct, if I'm mathing correctly, they were
math.
16 games over 500 with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. batting second. Can you imagine if the Astros were 16 games over 500
You know,
during a certain important stretch of the season?
I'm recalling a question that was asked post 2024 season with like really basic stats, right? Like wins and losses. And the answer was given was we just want to do it that way. Okay. Seems to me that we have a trend going on. If you hit people in a certain position, they can produce runs. Get people on ahead of them, maximize your skill sets, produce runs. Once again, it's not a one size fits all. The Blue Jays are proving that you score runs with a club like the Astros have by having a more traditional setup. The Dodgers, conversely, have stars at every spot. They can hit whoever they want second because somebody's got to hit second.
They can hit
Yeah,
whoever they want, wherever,
that's
basically.
right. Somebody's got to hit second. Just happens to be Shohei Ohtani, but they can hit whoever they want, wherever they want. So if you can't do that, you need to have a more traditional approach. And um, if the Astros want to return to prominence as far as being in the postseason,
But by the way, newsflash, Shohei actually leads off.
oh, does he? Who's in second for a while? Well, there you go. That's even more proof. So if you want to go ahead and you want to return it for the Astros to the postseason and play for championships, you have to take a better approach that uses your personnel different and allows guys to move lineups and score runs, not get bored and lackadaisical. And you sure as heck can't run out 150 whatever lineups they ran out in 162 games. Can't do that.
And what was another thing you wanted to get off your chest, Jeremy?
Um,
Are you trying to pick the best thing?
yeah, what I saw with the Blue Jays, and I saw that club a bunch this year, and I see it better now in the postseason than I did during the season for obvious reasons. As you and I know, I saw the Blue Jays a lot, and I can tell you that the way the pitchers go about their execution of what they're doing isn't a scripted plan that's again universal. It is very much tailored to what they do. It is not, there's a lot of stuff they do that moves east and west, which is anti-spin in many cases, right? Sliders and splitters and sinkers, as opposed to having to spin a bunch of 12 to 6 curveballs and having to throw four seam fastballs or being breaking ball reliant. They're very much a mix oriented team. And a guy like Gusevich who pitched last night, um, it was splitter, it was four seam fastball, it was sinker, it was slider, it was all kinds of stuff. It wasn't anything that had to do with a basic analytical approach. It was I'm going to do what I have to do to get guys out. Period. Because when you win games, You have to use your strengths, limit your weaknesses, and get guys out. And I see the Astros pitch, and I see a pattern that's fallen into based on what seems to be what somebody upstairs is telling them. There's scouting reports, and then there's myopic approaches. And when I look at these, at the Blue Jays and versus what the Dodgers did, how they fell into a very myopic approach. Um, you have an 11-2 game, is that right?
11-4.
11-4. That's right. Otani went deep later in the game. 11-4. That's what you got. Okay. Blue Jays, I promise you, most people that I talk to were not picking the Blue Jays to win the World Series. I picked them in seven. I think they win in seven because I think they're going to outgrind it and play better baseball. That's my opinion. So, Astros fans, if you're watching, when you break down these games, apply it to, and there are people who you've listened to in the online community, whether it's on X or whether it's on radio or whatever, who have said that the lineup construction is not a problem. I mean, it's not first or second problem, right? It's whatever. Who have said that.
There's a lot fewer people saying that, though.
Funny how that works, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's people who have said that Dana's the problem. Dana's not the problem. There's people who have said that the use of the person Lance McCullers needs to be you need to focus on what these clubs are doing to win. Think back to the clubs you had with Springers and Altuve's and the guys that were here that did all of those things to win. How the lineups were put together, the differences in Jeremy Pena not hitting in banishment territory
In
versus hitting in
Siberia.
second. Yeah,
Hey,
you know,
let's hit him as far away from the top of the order as possible.
and look at how the simple this can be with the personnel you have. I was asked by one of my neighbors, do you root for a team? I don't root for a team. I do root for cities though. And I root for this city in Houston because I understand how much it means to the city, right? I'm here every day, and I want the city here to have winning teams because they deserve winning teams with how much they care. That said, you're gonna have to go ahead and take a different approach. The approach that you think you're taking, that we're taking or our baseball team, meaning are the one we cover, is taking when it comes to how they go about it, is not correct when it comes to lineup. And then probably in 2 years, I'd say 50 games were given away, maybe more, in how they were going about it, maybe more. And that's potentially two World Series. That's where I'm going to leave it.
And for those of you who are watching this who are Dodgers fans, and invariably some people they'll say, Shohei's hit first most of the season, and that's true. But my guess is when you saw the Dodgers, it was probably in late July when Shohei started hitting second for about 2 weeks. But for the most part, Jeremy, he has batted leadoff this season. But my
When
guess is you just happened to catch him for those 2 weeks or so when he started batting second, and then they moved him back to the top of the order spot.
Well, he's hit second with the Dodgers last year, I want to say, and he hit second some this year when I did see him. For reasons away from the actual baseball, I pay attention to Shohei and what he does, right? So, yeah, but he's still hitting one or two. He's not hitting three, four, or five. He's not hitting a traditional run production spot. And for me, Cal Raleigh hit second in Seattle too, right?
Basically, I would say last year, 2024, through about mid-June, he was batting second, and then they moved him to the leadoff spot.
Right. So, either way, one or two, Cal Raleigh's hitting second as well, and he performed, and the Mariners went further, but the Mariners had different star power, right?
Deeper lineup.
You have to look around at what your personnel is. Your personnel dictates these decisions. The Dodgers had that luxury to be able to do it. The Mariners had luxury to be able to do it. The Astros don't.
Here's a name that's now being thrown out there, MacKenzie Gore to the Astros. Here's a name that's now being thrown out there, MacKenzie Gore, who I think I may have brought up during the trade deadline last year. I think he would be a suitable guy to plug in. I don't know what you'd have to give up to get him, but my guess is it would be less now than you would have during the regular season.
Yeah, I think that in the offseason, things happen in a little bit different mode. There's a school of thought that no matter what the guy's done, whoever you're talking about, you're going to have him for the whole season. That may cost more. And then there's the performance, right? That's gone whichever way it's gone, which dictates the price as well. But MacKenzie Gore, yes, you singled him out last time. as a guy that'd be a good fit here and one that may match up for a trade piece. And I don't think that's any different. I think MacKenzie Gore, as good as his flashes he has shown, um, there's been some concern as far as his overall growth pattern development and ceiling. It's not athleticism or ability. I remember seeing him when he was drafted and even after he was drafted in San Diego in instructional league, and it's been nasty ever since then. It's just been something that has been a complete work in progress for production. Sometimes it's been really good, sometimes it's been not. I say that to I'll piggyback with this. Um, that new group in Washington's got some decisions to make. They have some things across the board as far as which way they're going to go. They're not in a place where they have to tear it all down because they're pretty young as it is. But they are in some development challenges and some player evaluation challenges. And Paul Taboni and Devin Pearson have some significant experience with from their time in Boston with the overlaps that I've had with the Red Sox and the future stars who's out with the Red Sox. So um, I know they're addressing it. They're on it. They're on it. They just brought somebody over for player development from the Red Sox, and they brought in Justin Horowitz, who worked for them in Boston, who went to Pittsburgh with Charrington for a couple of years to be another assistant GM over the draft. They got some things they're going to do, and that place is going to be a different look. How far back they want to go, I don't know. What they want to do to tear it down, I don't know. But I would imagine everybody's available when it comes to deepening their system.
And Jeremy, one thing we have not done is look back at some of the comments from our most recent episodes. Let's go back to the one that was entitled "Thou Shall Not Hit Alvarez Second." The injury, the lineup, and lesson not learned. The lesson not learned. We had a couple of good comments, and let me pull up the one here. World Traveler 721 said Alvarez already told Espada last season that he does not like to hit second. I don't know if that's entirely true, but I know that Yordan was surprised. Espada is doing a disservice to the team by hitting him there. He keeps coming up to bat with no one on base, gets on base, isn't driven in. Hold on, let me get the split screen here so everybody can see your reaction. Hold on. Hold on. All right. He gets on base, isn't driven in, or gets pitched around and walked. I have paid attention to the amount of times he bats with no one on base, and it's the majority of his ABs. It's crazy to rely on Altuve and Correa to drive in your best power hitter, RBI producer on the team, and I'm not sure who's allowing Espada to do this. Dana surely isn't saying a thing. 2 years of this crap and it's not working. Why reinvent the Astros lineup? We won a championship with Alvarez hitting third, and he wasn't even our best hitter who hit second that postseason. It was a rookie named Jeremy Pena. Someone please remind Espada, who, by the way, James Click fought Dusty tooth and nail to hit Pena second in the postseason. And then
Sounds like
Sagittarius Emperor says, I've been telling people that Espada is Dusty the Clown 2.0, having Correa batting third. Before that, Espada, hold on, let me find this. Having Correa batting third, and before that, Espada had him batting fourth. Correa should have never been brought back. He is worthless. That is why Minnesota was so thrilled the Astros got him back. This was just as bad when they brought back a washed-up Verlander. I don't know if that's entirely the case. For the Correa situation, I don't have a problem given the issues that you had. And I think Carlos also filled a vacuum in terms of leadership and that moxie that I think that Alex Bregman brought. And I think he fills that. I mean, Correa was good. I think he was. I mean, I haven't looked at his WAR when he was with Houston, but I think he was better than average, and he's a really strong defender. The arm is still there, and he says Carlos told me. I mean, told when we were in Boston. Said that basically he's looking forward to playing third base because it gets him off his legs. He's not moving around as much. So certainly there's going to be an issue moving forward, what they're going to do with a jam-packed infield. But I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with them bringing back Carlos.
well, the first guy who talked about Alvarez and Espada. Jordan's going to hit where they tell him to hit. He's going to go
Yep.
ahead and do it, what I need you to do. It doesn't mean he likes it.
Yep.
He's just going to turn around and do it. And the second, so he's right. And the second guy, I'm with you on the Correa thing. The Minnesota dumping Correa had less to do with dumping Correa, the player, and more to do with dumping the money.
Mm-hmm.
because they're in a different situation up there where they're going to tear it all down, keep their front office people in place, are doing some
And he had a
influx.
lot
And
of control too on where he could go.
that's right. And so when it comes to him coming back to Houston, which is a logical fit for where the club is at, the years are, the options, and the money Jim Crane wanted to spend, especially if he's willing to play third base, that's a win. I'd liken that more to Alex Rodriguez going to New York and playing third base than I would a washed up Verlander coming back because Correa's not done. He just hasn't been healthy. That said, look at Alex in New York. He had the steroid suspension. He had the or the PED suspension, I guess is technically the way to say it. He had injuries. He missed time, a couple of years, and it wasn't what the Yankees thought they were getting when they traded for him, even with the 1 or 2 years. So I think Correa is more like A-Rod when it comes to coming to Houston. I don't think the Verlander comparison is a very good one, but I understand the sentiment.
Of course, you advocated for bringing Verlander back this year, which, given how he pitched towards the end of the season, I think they could have used that instead of running out the Corpus Christi Hooks and the Sugarland Space Cowboys.
I Jason, I'm going to give this evaluation thing a try.
Yeah, yeah.
I may take a shot at it, see how it works out.
All right, everybody. I think that's going to wrap it up. Wow, 2 extra bases in a matter of 5 days. This is incredible. And will we do this? Let's peel back the curtain. Do you anticipate us doing this on Monday
I
following
do.
game 2?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
All right. I won't bore
Um,
people with the details of how we come up with this stuff. But
game
I will
two
say it
is
usually involves Jeremy calling or texting me.
game, game two is Sunday in Toronto, correct?
Correct.
Okay, yeah. So I would say Monday is a safe
And
bet.
I'm a bit busy with the Texans because they can't seem to get their lineups straight either, at least offensively. All right, everybody, leave your comments, your concerns, your questions below. We appreciate all of them, and when we remember, we will read them. So for Jeremy, I'm Jason. As always, thanks for watching another Extra Bases with Bristol and Booth.